Hello, and thank you for watching Creative Art Expressions with Sapphire C. In this video, I'm going to show you the anatomy of one of my crochet patterns. Now, some of my older patterns may not be exactly like this. I have updated a little bit, but all my newer ones are. This pattern is for a complete beginner, because I wanted to help people learn how to crochet, and so this is a complete beginner scarf pattern. And we start with pictures at the top and a title. And this pattern is for free, so you'll be able to get it on my website for free. And it'll show you right here on this cover page what is included in the pattern. And in this one, it's instructions for making one scarf. It tells you the length of that. And then I have my copyright information. You can't sell with my pictures. Anything you make from my patterns you can sell. I'd appreciate a link back to the pattern, but just don't use my pictures. So on the second page here, I do write in American Standard terms, and you'll find your tools needed on that second page. For this pattern, it uses an H hook, so this would be a crochet hook H5 millimeter, so I will have the letter and the millimeter that you will need for that. I have this wrapped in plastic because I'm allergic to the material underneath, but I like this hook part, so that's why in a lot of my videos you will see that my hooks are covered in plastic unless I have a clay hook or something. Then you will always need scissors, and for this, a ruler. For the fringe, I do use this ruler, and then most of the time you might want to take measure for measuring. So either or is good there. And then a tapestry needle or a yarn needle, and I'm not really sure the technical name, but it looks like this. Something that's going to fit your yarn through the needle, and that's for finishing off ends and weaving in ends. And then a stitch marker. This is not a necessity, but it's very helpful. And of course I had one out and then I lost it, so I'll get another one. I really like these. You can also just use a strand of yarn, so it's not necessary to have a stitch marker, but I find them very helpful. I use them all the time. I'm always losing them too, but and then usually I will have, well, I skipped one, the yarn needed here. For this pattern I have two options. You can do the medium size worsted weight yarn, which is a size 4. You can do any, like Red Heart has it, and then also I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby. But you're going to find the yarn size on the label. You can see right there. It says 4 medium. And then it's going to tell you the yards here. And I always have how many yards you will need. Let's see. And I have 2 different types of yarn here. So for the 4 medium worsted weight, this says 200 yards. And of course you will find it there, so that would be sufficient, the 252. You would only need 1 skein for that. And then the other option here is the size 3 DK yarn. And you will find the yardage there, 590 yards in this one. And there's the size on that. That's size 3. And that's where you're going to find, if you're at a yarn store, that's what you're looking for. The 3 or the 4. You can do either one. The 3 is obviously smaller, and you'll need more of that yarn. Where did I put? 260 yards for that. And then the medium worsted weight, you would need 170 yards. I guess I said that wrong before. Anyways, I had it written right though. Okay, and then in this point, the gauge for this scarf is not that important. Now, you'll learn more about a gauge in some of my other patterns. I'll usually have a gauge, but that just determines how tight you crochet, how loose you crochet, and if you're a beginner, you won't know yet. You'll have to practice to determine that. So in this case, in this scarf, it's really not important. You'll just end up with a bigger or smaller scarf than what I have, than the scarves I've made. Okay, then you'll see the stitch guide. Now that's very important. In the instructions, you're going to have you know, the abbreviation, CH for chain, DC double crochet. So until you really get that down, you'll want to refer back to this page when you see those abbreviations in your pattern. Then also in this video, I have included helpful videos I've made to help a beginner. Now I'm right-handed, so I'd be holding my yarn with my left hand. So I have a video on how to learn to hold your yarn, how to make a slip knot, and to crochet a chain, and to single crochet in a chain. So those will be helpful for you if you're a beginner. And then the notes, I usually have a lot more notes than this, but since this is a beginner pattern, this is all I have. And number one is always going to be a link to all the tutorials for that pattern. You will find there. And then it just gives you, you just always want to make sure you read those notes in my patterns. They're very important. It'll help you in the rest of the pattern. And then I have here the instructions. And as you can see, I have links to each line. This is how I do my patterns. I like to break it down because I want you to be able to complete the pattern. So I have done a row, and then I give you a link to a video tutorial if you like to watch to learn. So hopefully that will be helpful for you. This does take a lot of time. So on those patterns that I have for sale, there's a lot of work that goes into each pattern. I break things down, and I want you to be able to do it. So I just hope that is helpful, but also I really appreciate each person who does a pattern to pay attention to that copyright, because I do spend a lot of time on these patterns. And it's pretty much, I'm trying to make a livelihood out of this. I'm a homeschool mom, so this is where my time goes when I'm not with my kids. Let's see here. We've got, if you can see at the end of the row, I have numbers in the parentheses, which in the notes, I told you what those numbers meant. That's the count, how many stitches you'll have at the end of that row. And I have two numbers. The first number is for, depending on which yarn you use. So if you use the size 4 medium worsted weight yarn, you're going to have a less amount of stitches, because I tell you to chain here 201 for the DK yarn or 192 for medium. But again, this pattern, you can make your scarf as long or short as you want to make it. So you don't have to follow those instructions. Just chain as long as you want that scarf to be. This scarf is made lengthwise and not widthwise, so that way you can determine how long you want it. So this is just you know, if you want to follow directions exactly, but you can make it as long as you want. And basically when you follow these instructions, then you're repeating row 4 through 6, so you're just going to repeat these rows over and over again until you get your desired width. Or I've also put how many rows for the scarves that I pictured on the front. And I've also done a video on how to add fringe if you want to add fringe. You can also just sew your ends together to make an infinity scarf if you want to do that. I have not done a video on that at this point. Then at the end you'll find my links for social media. At this point I've gotten rid of my Facebook and Twitter just to make life easier for me. At this point, those are the only social media accounts I have. I used to have more, but I have simplified my life a little bit. So I would prefer to spend more time on making and creating than on social media. So, plus I do homeschool my kids, so my time is limited. And that is it. Let's see, but those are the links, and I will also, this is where you'll find a link for the actual pattern. So if you do share on social media, I really do appreciate you sharing my pattern and linking to it, so I can keep doing this and get word of my patterns out there. I would really appreciate that. So I hope this has helped you, just a breakdown of how I work my patterns. So some of them might have a higher cost than others, but again, I am here to help you, and I really want you to be able to complete the pattern. So I break them down. And most of my patterns are a lot longer than this because I do a lot of advanced beginner or intermediate patterns. But I did want to get to the beginner crocheter as well to start you out right. I hope that I break it down enough for you. And I do want to be there to help if you have any questions. So my patterns will have my email address, and I will always get to you as soon as I can, because I want you to be able to make what you want to make. I hope this has helped you. Please comment, leave a like, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye.